ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the discussion of Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master. Now, today we will be all participating in the childhood of Sri Ramakrishna. Let us all make our minds fresh, pure, and then enter to Kamarpukur and be small children. And we will be all witnessing and playing with Sri Ramakrishna. One morning, when Gadadhar was 7 or 8 months old, he fell asleep at his mother's breast. Chandra put him to rest under a mosquito net and went out of the room to attend to her household duties. Shortly afterwards, when she happened to come back to the room for something, she found that instead of the child, a strange, tall person was lying under the net, filling the whole bed. In great alarm, Chandra rushed out of the room and called out to her husband. As soon as he came, she told him what she had seen. But on examination, they found none, except the child sleeping on the bed as before. Even then, Chandra's fear did not abate. She went on repeating, I am certain that it was a mischievous spirit who did it. I distinctly saw a tall person lying in the bed where our son lies. It was certainly not a delusion. How could it be? Do call immediately an experienced exorcist to examine the child, otherwise some harm may befall him. Shudiram consoled her, saying, there is nothing strange in your getting visions even now about our son, for we are blessed with them even before his birth. So drive away the idea that it was the doing of a spirit. With Raghuveer, that is Ramachandra, in the house, is it ever possible for spirits to come here to harm the body? It's very similar to our thinking. How nicely Shudiram is convincing Chandramani Devi. Wherever Ramachandra is, wherever the Lord is, how can the evil spirits be there? We are worshipping Lord Ramachandra himself has come in the form of Raghuveer Shila. Divine Mother is there in the house in the form of Shitala Devi. We are worshipping them. If that is the case, how can an evil spirit come there into the house where the Lord exists? So just like Kabir Das used to tell, Jaha Rama hai, waha kama nahi. Wherever Rama is there, there cannot be kama, that is the lust or the negative energies. The bad energies, they cannot stay wherever Rama is. And also, we have heard in Hanuman Chalisa, Mahavir jab naam sunave, bhuta preta nikate nahi aave. Like that, one more stanza is there, where even the presence or the repetition of the name of Mahavira, Hanuman. Now, Mahavir jab naam sunave, just the name is heard, Mahavir, that is the Hanuman's name. Bhuta preta nikate nahi aave, the evil spirit ghosts cannot even come nearby in the vicinity. If that is the case, with the servant of Rama, then what about if Rama himself is there in the house? How can a ghost come? We have that apprehension always. Though we know the Lord is in our own heart, He's protecting us, He's everywhere, there is no place where the Lord doesn't exist. But we are having more faith in the ghosts and devils than in the presence of God. That is our negative tendencies will be more in our mind. We always see negative than the positive. So, how can the ghost exist? I told the story of Tukaram. Even in that ghost, the ugly ghost, Tukaram saw his Ishtadevata Krishna, Vithala, and went to embrace him. So, who is present even in the ghost? It is the Lord only. The wicked, and everybody, in the disease, everybody, it is the Lord who is present. So that's why we need not be anxious over that matter. We can give up all the anxiety because even in the bad things. But whenever you see a tiger, whenever you see a bad people, you can do pranams from far off. You need not go approach them nearby. But you need not be afraid of them when you believe and you have faith in the Lord. That is the thing, important thing. Shudaram is telling Chandra Devi, and through that he is removing our anxiety. Even then Chandra's fear did not abate. She was repeating, I'm certain that it was a mischievous spirit who did it. I distinctly saw a tall person lying in the bed where our son lies. It was certainly not a delusion. How could it be? Do call immediately an experienced exorcist. Exorcist in village, they will be there who can chase away the demons or the ghosts and evil spirits. So call an expert exorcist to examine the child, otherwise some harm may befall him. Shudaram consoled her, saying, there's nothing strange in your getting visions, even now, about her son. For we were blessed with them even before his birth. So drive away the idea that it was the doing of a spirit. With Raghuveer in the house, with Ramachandra in the house, is it ever possible for spirits to come here to harm the boy? Therefore, be at rest and do not speak to anyone about it. Rest assured that Raghuveer always protects him. He himself is the Raghuveera who has become Rama, the one highest power, the great soul, who all the time comes to this world. Again and again, when there is decline in dharma, in righteousness, Lord Krishna is told, I will come again and again. Whenever there is decline in righteousness and the unrighteousness comes up, so to put down that unrighteousness and give a balance to the righteousness, I come again and again to this world as taking the form of a human being. That's what Krishna is promised. So it was earlier Rama, it's the same highest Godhead who is coming again and again taking the human form. That is what we call avatara. Avatarana means to get down from that higher state to our state, taking the human form. That's why it's called avatara. Avatara means coming down. So now, Shudaram is telling that Raghuveera is there, he will protect. But it's the same Raghuveera only taken this form of Ramakrishna or Gadadhara. So therefore, be at rest and do not speak to anyone about it. Don't tell that you had seen somebody lying there. So while consoling her, he's also telling her, do not speak about it to anyone about it. Rest assured that Raghuveer always protects him. Although for the time being Chandra was pacified by her husband's words, the fear of harm befalling the child still haunted her mind like a shadow. For a long time that day, with folded hands, she poured out to Ramachandra, Raghuveera, the anguish of her heart. So though he consoled because she has seen that somebody was lying there in the bed instead of the child, a tall person. So she was so afraid that she started praying to Raghuveera with anguish, with great feeling. Please protect my child. For a long time that day, with folded hands, she poured out to Raghuveera the anguish of her heart. Years thus went by, bringing to Gadadhar's parents joy and sorrow, exultation and anxiety. The joyous attraction that the little boy exerted over them and over others from the very beginning increased day by day. 4 or 5 years gradually passed. During this period, Kshudiram's last child, a daughter named Sarvamangala, was also born. As Gadadhar grew up, Kshudiram was filled with wonder and delight at noticing the development of the boy's remarkable memory and intelligence. So we have to notice Ramakrishna had very good memory. In our scriptures, there is a saying called the Shrutidhara. You can translate that Shrutidhara into English in this way. That is photographic memory. The memory is so sharp that he cannot forget anything. Even once if he sees anything in his life, he will never forget that for life. Anything, once he hears or sees, then he will never forget. So like that, we see in our scriptures, it is told Shankaracharya had such a memory. Ramanujacharya had such memory. Like that, some great souls were there who had that photographic memory or Shrutidhara. So now you can imagine, I will tell you one incident where Shankaracharya had dictated the whole book in the sense, just like for example, there will be Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad. Then Shankaracharya used to give them the notes or the commentary on that. Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad itself is such a huge, voluminous book. On that, Shankaracharya used to give word by word meaning and the whole commentary on that. So that will be still voluminous. Now, it so happened the disciples would write it down, etch it down on the book. There were no pages, paper or something like pen like today. You had to etch it on the leaves. Some special palm leaves would be there. They used to dry that leaves and make that into pages like thing, and they used to etch these things on that. And it would be preserved. It so happened something, it was lost or it was burnt. So now the whole thing which Shankaracharya has given, written volumes of notes or commentaries which he had given to the disciple, and it was etched down, it was written there. It was all burned down. Then all the disciples were very much unhappy. So much of our effort is gone. Now what shall we do? What can be done? Then Shankaracharya told, nothing to worry. Whatever I have told is in my memory. I will tell it back. You can copy it down again. There's nothing to worry. So everything was there in his mind. Whatever he heard, seen or anything. So you would never forget. That memory is called Shrutidhara, photographic memory. And here you can see Ramakrishna or Gadadhara from his childhood had such photographic memory or whatever you call Shrutidhara. Not only memory, so having memory is different. One thing, okay, it's very good. Together with that, he possessed one more thing, that is the intelligence too, wisdom. He had very good memory, and at the same time, he had very sharp intelligence, and at the same time, wisdom too. You might have a lot of intelligence, you may use it for the wrong purpose. You put the intelligence into the right purpose and take out the right meaning, it's called wisdom. So even that small child, Gadadhar, people were, now as Gadadhar grew up, Kshudiram was filled with wonder and delight at noticing the development of the boy's remarkable memory and intelligence. Sometimes he would take the lively boy on his lap. Gadadhar was made to sit on his lap. Kshudiram took him on his lap and repeat to him the long list of names of his ancestors. So there is a thing called Pravara, generally in the family of the Brahmanas. they will teach them the pravara. In that, not only the gotra will be taught, all the ancestors' name, big list, who were the ancestors, the gotra pravartaka, all that name will be taught. They will keep in memory. That's how the lineage is remembered, whole from a long list of lineage from whom the Rishi, which Rishi, who were the ancestors, who were the father, the forefather, his father, like that, they will keep in memory. So they will get it by heart. But now here, when Gadadhar was made to sit on the lap of Raghuvira, Kshudrama, and he would tell him the list, big list of ancestors, even once, and Gadadhar would catch it so sharply, he would never forget it. Sometimes he would take the lively boy on his lap and repeat to him a long list of names of his ancestors or short hymns to gods and goddesses. So Kshudrama would just repeat that hymns or the names, that's all. And the various ways of paying homage to them or wonderful stories from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, he found that Gadadhar could grasp and remember, hearing only once, most of what he was told. And that when asked to repeat them, he could do so without faltering. So sharp a memory, the stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata, the list of ancestors' names, long list, and then the hymns to the Lord, different gods and goddesses. Even once, with great love, Kshudiram would make that boy sit on the lap, the lively boy, small boy of 3 or 4. And when he used to tell those names and the hymns and the stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata, even once, then afterwards, if he is asked to repeat that, Gadadhar would repeat all that without fail, so perfectly. So Kshudiram was amazed at the memory of that small boy. So now you can understand, Gadadhar was very intelligent, sharp wisdom. Then he had, what do you call this, memory, photographic memory. Then you might be wondering, why did Gadadhar then not get educated? He went only studied up till 4th grade or 5th grade or even less than that. Why didn't he get higher education? He could have become a Pandit, he could have become a great scholar. Willfully, Gadadhar as a small boy rejected it. He was seeing everywhere, he was keen intelligence and wisdom. He was watching all the people. After reading, getting so many such high accolades or what you call that, so much of degrees and master degrees. At that time, it was just English education had come. There was no degrees and master degrees yet. 1836, the birth year of Gadadhar or Ramakrishna was the year in which Macaulay introduced English education to India. So yet it had not come. The degrees, master degrees, PhDs and other things were not there yet. But he could have studied the Vedanta, Vedas, which was there at that time. He could have mastered them. But he saw the people who read that, after such great knowledge, wisdom is there. What do they do after that? They used to do some work of the priest, earn some rice and plantains and coconuts and little coins, whatever they give, while they do the work of marriage or the namakarana or some other priestly work when they used to do, and also the last rites. So they used to earn some. That's all. After reading so much of great things, they were just bundling up some rice and bananas and some coins. So Gadadhar at that small age was thinking, see the intelligence and the wisdom at that small age. So he's watching all those things. I will not tell what was the reply when Ramakumar, elder brother, asked him, why don't you give your mind to your studies? Why are you only interested in Ramayana, Mahabharata and other gods and goddesses? Why don't you give your mind to arithmetic, mathematics? then grammar and other things. You have to study well, you should become a Pandit, you should become a scholar. Then what did he reply? I will come to that point later on. Now we shall see here the childhood. So he was watching, he was observing, even as a small child, so much of intelligence. So you cannot tell that he was an unintelligent person, he was an autistic child or something like that. So because present day people will bring in psychology and superimpose to everything. But you have to notice that he is having sharp memory. Not only just sharp memory, it is photographic memory. Not one thing will he forget. Another thing, he has very good intelligence. Then wisdom is too high. He would give solutions to many problems as a small child itself. Then it is not the dumbness or less intelligence or something like what we call nowadays, there will be so many psychological disorders. It was not that. So don't superimpose so many things which you have in your mind on the child when he doesn't go to study those arithmetic and other things. It was for a different cause. His mind was rushing towards something else. He was always see what we do when we grow up and start getting that viveka, the discrimination between the real and the unreal. So that boy, even from the childhood, started discriminating between the real and the unreal, the dharma and the adharma, the righteous and the unrighteous. So it's a natural tendency. It started doing that. So whatever we, after getting up and studying Vedanta, Vedas, then we start understanding what is Viveka, then studying Viveka Chudamani, the crust level of discrimination. We start discriminating, try and try and try hard. We may not succeed anywhere. But this boy, from the childhood, his mind is open and seeing, watching everything. What is not real? What is unreal? What is real? And what is righteous? What is unrighteous? What is good? What is bad? Already that small child is watching, observing, and only grasping the good things. So that is to be noticed even from the childhood. So he had photographic memory. So even once the hymns of gods and goddesses, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other things like the long list of ancestral name, everything was there in his mind. So he had a lot of memory, he had a lot of intelligence and wisdom as a small child. He found, Shudaram found that Gadadhar would grasp and remember, hearing only once most of what he was told, and that when asked to repeat them, he could do so without faltering. So you have to notice here our Indian custom whereby mother was the first guru for any child from the childhood. Even they tell in some of the Indian languages, even if somebody teaches you one letter, will become your guru because he's giving you some knowledge. So mother is the first guru. Then you can see the father is the guru, takes the place of that guru, the teacher. Now, nowadays, you see the parents don't have patience, they don't have time. Both will be earning money, they have to go to the office. They cannot give much time to the children. So we see then who will become the guru of those children? What do they do? Just to ward off the problem from the children, because children are so curious. So they're so energetic, they want to find out. They come to the parents and ask questions. They want that the parents should give them attention, but they don't have time. Their attention, their parents' attention is only on earning money. They want to earn more money. Now, what will be the result on the child? Now, just to ward off the children, because they are coming and asking questions, they will be always coming to the parents or mother or father. So they will, just to escape from them, they will either give a mobile phone, they will either give an iPad, they will put on some cartoons and then show them animals and other things. So now the iPhones, the mobile phones, the iPad, the TV, and all other gadgets will become the guru of the children. They grow up seeing them. So from the childhood, you are making them addicted to these gadgets instead of giving them more attention, more patience, more time. Just like you see, Gadadhar is Though Kshudiram had a lot of work to do, he had to go to the agricultural field, he has to till the land, he has to look after that, everything, so much of work he had to do. He has to do puja, he has to go here and there. So many other children are there. In spite of all that responsibility, he used to keep the child on the lap. See there, the lively child, he used to make that boy sit on the lively boy on his lap. He would take on the lap and repeat to him a long list of names of his ancestors, Ramayana, Mahabharata. Do we have that patience with our children? They are veritable manifestation of God's. The Lord has come. Here, the great Vishnu, Gadadhara Vishnu and Shiva have come here. But every child is a manifestation of the Lord. It has the Atman within that. It is the Lord who has taken that form and come to us. Maybe the manifestation may be less. So every child, every person is a manifestation of God. So the Lord has come to your house. How are you treating? You are giving them gadgets. You are giving them mobile. You are giving them this thing to ward off. You don't have patience. You don't have time. All your time is just making money. So what are you teaching the children? That money is the important thing in your life. Facilities and other luxuries are the important thing in your life. So what will the children do? They will also gather the same thing. Whatever the parents do, they learn. They don't. Here, you may be teaching the child, be good, don't tell a lie, always think of good, all those things. But the child will not follow what you tell, but always the children will follow what you do. What is your doing? How are you behaving? Is your mind towards God? Is your mind towards good things, righteous things? What are the ways you are behaving? So the children will learn from your behavior. It's not from your teaching. So that's very, very important that you have to learn here. So you see Kshudiram giving so much of time, teaching him the list of ancestral names. First of all, we are not going to learn the name of our ancestors. And secondly, we do not know the hymns of gods and goddesses. And thirdly, we do not know the stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata. We are not interested in them. So where is the time? So put on the TV, give them the laptop. And when you become old too, they will do the same thing. They will provide you a very good old age home. They will provide you a very good nursing home, provide you the best nurse will come from the hospital. They will be paid and they will come and treat you, look after you, the best medical treatment, the money, the best LED screen, everything will be given, but they will not come to you to sit with you. Why? What you have done, the same thing. It's not their fault. They have learned it from you. You didn't have time to give it to the children. Just like you see, Kshudiram, there's so much of time. Okay, even now, why can't you learn the name of the ancestors, the hymns from the gods and goddesses, Ramayana and Mahabharata, the story of the children, and teach them? Why don't you learn now what is lost if you have not? And give the children, any children for the sake. Then you see the benefit will be there. They will give back. Then they will have the patience to give their time to you. When you don't have time, your aim is only money, they will also learn the same thing. So you can see Kshudiram has so much of patience. He's making the child sit on the lap. We have seen all those things. In the families in India, even now, some of the joint families, we can see the grandfather, the grandmother, the uncle, the auntie, who are there in the joint family. They will come, they look after the child. Somebody will be giving care to that child in the family, though the mother and father may be busy. One or the other person in the family will be always taking care of the child. So the child has emotional support. So emotionally, the child will grow into a strong being. Its mind, subconscious mind, his, the emotional factor will develop very nicely. Now you can see the present generation, they don't have strength, emotional strength at all. Even the smallest of difficulties in the life, they cannot withstand it. Why? You have not made them strong. Now you can see how Kshudiram is training. These were all the customs of our country, of our India, Hindu religion, Sanatana Dharma. This is how the children are to be taken care of, Shodasha Samskara. how the samskara, the impressions have to be given. Tell them the name of your ancestors. Tell them the greatness of your parents, of your family lineage, how great somewhere the people. Give them the best examples to them. Then they will start thinking, oh, if they were like that, we should also become like that. The great people will be there in some form. Then about our great epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upanishad, all the stories, the child, great devotees and great people were there, great children were there. Prahlada, Dhruva, Nachiketa, all those great children were there. Jabala, Satyakama. Teach them, learn them. Okay, if you do not know, you may tell, oh, we do not know, our parents have not taught. Is there any lack of knowledge now? You can get knowledge at the tip of your fingers. Then get it and teach the children with great love and affection. Pour them love. Pour them time, give them time, and see how your children will develop. And they will give back the same quality time to you when you need it. Otherwise, you get the same thing. So you can't accept something high, expect something high when you are not given it. And see how Shudiram is giving. He found that Gadadhar could grasp and remember hearing only once most of what he was told, and that when asked to repeat them, he could do so without faltering. See, it is a training. You have to do that from the childhood. If you sharpen there, okay, they may be not as good as Gadadhar like this, having photographic memory, but still the memory will be very fresh and it will be very good. Whatever you teach them from the childhood, they can become expert because their mind is very clear, it's very pure, it's very nice. No impression suddenly doesn't come from the subconscious mind. It is so fresh. So whatever you train, the children become like that. You should have patience. You should go and train them. So you could see Gadadhar could repeat all those things without faltering. At the same time, he discovered that just as the boy learned and remembered some things with great eagerness, he also remained indifferent to certain other things. He remained indifferent to certain other things. What were they? He was eager in learning many things, but he was indifferent to some other things. What were those things that that child was indifferent? So, which did not appeal to him. In spite of all efforts to arouse his interest in them, he would not give his mind to that. What was that? He noticed this when trying to teach him arithmetic. So now, in Hindu system, in olden days, they used to teach astrology. So it is a part of Vedas, it is a Vedanga. So in that astrology, a lot of mathematics is there, full of mathematics, arithmetic calculations. So to that you have to learn mathematics. So basic mathematics, you know, mathematics started in India and went to Arabia and from there went to Europe. So the value of zero, the value of pi, everything you know, so many things like Pythagoras theorem. So others have given the name, but it was all there in India. How could you see the geometrical constructions? Thousands-year-old temples are there. It is so much of geometry, so much of mathematics, so much of permutation and combination, so many things, progressions, everything is there. Geometry, perfect geometrical figures are there in all the temples. So mathematics was at a very high place in India at that time. Long back, some thousands of years. It had such glorious education system, Gurukulas were there. It was all destroyed by the British. Whatever, we will not go to all those things. You all know that. So, but here I was telling you that they were all there. Mathematics was there, arithmetic was there. Geometry were already there. So the parents would know that. They used to teach it to the children. But these things would not bring interest to Gadadhar. He remained indifferent. Certain other things which did not appeal to him in spite of all efforts to rouse his interest in them. He noticed this when trying to teach him arithmetic, especially the multiplication table. So the multiplication table will be given to the children to get by heart, to memorize it. So the child would not like that calculation. So especially the multiplication table, and thought it unnecessary to force the impatient lad, still so young, to learn those lessons. So when a child who could memorize all that hymns and just tell even once hearing that, can't it memorize? the table and arithmetic, it will be still more easy when it has the photographic memory and the intelligence and the wisdom. But the innate nature, it doesn't want to learn it. So do not go to think that, so Gadadhar Ramakrishna Avatara didn't like mathematics and arithmetic, so we also children, we also will stop learning mathematics at children. Don't take that. You have not yet become Gadadhar. That was for a different reason. That is also be taken. If you have that leaning of learning what is truth and search of truth, then you can also do that. But don't go to imitate. Don't go to take everything literally. You have to just take the essence of it. So some people may bring in so many arguments, tell that Ramakrishna himself did this, so we will also do that. So you can't take like that. It is just like, if you have to follow Ramakrishna in this matter, then you have to be doing everything. So I'll give you an example. Then one Harikatha who was telling about Lord Krishna, the childhood of Krishna. So while he was explaining it to the people, thousands of people had gathered. One mischievous lad, one mischievous youth, naughty youth got up and told, "Sir, we will not follow whatever Krishna has told." They say, there is a saying in India, you have to do, you have to follow what Krishna has told, what not Krishna has done. But in Ramachandra, you have to do what Ramachandra has done. Because Ramachandra has told very less. He has told, his talk teachings are very less. But always in his life, he did so many great things. So you have to follow the footsteps of Ramachandra. So you have to follow the teachings of Krishna. That is the way we are taught. Then this boy told, "No, sir, we are not going to follow the footsteps of Ramachandra. It's very difficult. You have to obey your father and mother. You have to, Ramachandra was only Ekapatni Vratastha. Other than Sita, everybody has to look all women as mother. Difficult to follow such things." Then Ramachandra used to be Satyavakya Paripalaka, always telling the truth. Then Ramachandra used to be, what do you call, when his father told, due to that obedience to the father, he had to go to the forest, he had to give up the kingdom. So we cannot follow what Ramachandra does, it's very difficult. Then what will you follow? We will follow the teachings of Ramachandra, because very less teachings he has given, very less. It was all what he did. But then what will you do with Krishna? He told, we will follow Krishna's footsteps, but we will not follow Krishna's teaching. Why? He's giving a lot of teachings like Bhagavad Gita and many other things, Uddhava Gita, so many Gitas. But what were the doings? Yes, from the childhood, he started stealing butter, stealing milk. It's very easy, we will follow that. Then he married, how many wives were there? They tell, maybe imagination or something, 16,000 marriages he had, wives. So it's very easy, not so much, less than, at least some to some extent, the child, lad, that youth started telling. Now it was very difficult for the Kathakar or the Harikathakar to explain it to him how the thousands of people are there. Now put such question, now he's in difficulty. Then immediately the God gave the answer from within. He told, okay, you can do that. You can do whatever Krishna has done. What are you telling? You told that you will do everything that Krishna has done. The footsteps, not what he has taught. Okay, you have to do. Then if that is the case, you have to follow whatever, everything that Krishna has done. Oh, it will be very easy. I will do that. So I told, as a small child, as a small baby, he took the poison of Putana. The demon Putana besmeared her breast, or she herself put so much of poison into her body that she started breastfeeding Krishna. So when that milk goes into the Krishna's body, so the poison will enter and Krishna will be dead. So he took the poison, he drank the poison from Putana, and he survived. He came back, he didn't die. He killed that demon after that. So you too take poison now, very strong poison which Putana gave, that strong poison. So you take some very strong poison. If you survive, then after that, you can do all whatever Krishna has told. Then the youth had to keep quiet and go away. So he can't do that what Krishna did. As a small child, he had done so many things. He killed so many Rakshasas. Even as a baby, Shakatasura, Dhenukasura, so many other Asuras he killed. So he cannot do that. First of all, as a small babe, he had taken that poison and survived the poison. And can you do that? No, then keep quiet. Follow what Krishna told and follow what Rama has. The footsteps of Ramachandra. That is the teaching. So don't take that Ramakrishna was not liking arithmetic and other things for a different purpose. We'll come to know later on. So don't take it, take only the essence. It is a reading between the line. Okay? So we will go forward. He noticed, Kshudiram noticed that when trying to teach him arithmetic, especially the multiplication tables, the child would not give much interest. It would not like. So he thought it unnecessary to force. So one more thing you have to notice here. What Kshudiram is thinking, see the way how he is bringing up his child, it is all there for us to learn. Do not force anything on your children. Do not be harsh on your children. With love, with great love, you have to pour out love. So everything you give, you should do that. You have to teach them. All these things, moral lessons, everything. If you want to teach even mathematics, everything with great love. And you have to devise different plans by which the baby can learn. So likewise, you can see, you would never force. When that baby didn't like, you would not force. Take a stick and beat it, what we do, or do other something, scold it harshly. No. Very lovingly. So much of love he is pouring, so much of time. So, he would not, he felt it unnecessary to force the impatient lad, still so young, to learn those, excuse me, Jai Ram Krishna, sorry for that. So, he felt unnecessary to force the impatient lad, still so young, to learn those lessons. But finding that the boy was becoming more and more restless, because it is the nature of the children, so much of energy, bubbling with energy, so much of energy, the fresh mind wants to know, so they become restless, they become very active, they become very mischievous. So many parents come to me because I was also looking after one educational institution there. They used to complain, my child, and the parents also bring the children, tell the children are very mischievous, Swamiji. They do a lot of naughty things. They are very mischievous. The small children, my kid of 5 or 6, he's so mischievous. And also the parents, other parents of this educational institution, they would also tell. Then I used to tell them, when can they do mischiefs? When they are children, they have to do, that is the nature. They'll be naughty only when they are children. Can you imagine that an old man of 80 or 90 doing mischief or becoming naughty? Then you will start scolding him. So the children, the nature of the children is they will be doing a lot of mischief, they'll be restless, they will be active. That means, I used to tell the parents, that means, what is that? If they are, that is the natural tendency, they have to be restless, the children have to be bubbling with energy. What is the indication? It indicates that they have a lot of energy. That energy is trying to come out in the form of mischiefs. So channelize it, give it a proper direction. Teach them music, teach them stotras, teach them Vedapatas, the mantras, teach them spellings, teach them languages, your mother tongue. I've seen in South Africa, all have forgotten their mother tongue. In India, I have seen that in Tamil Nadu especially, Tamilians are so much of their mother tongue, Tamil language. They would never give up that anywhere for anything. They're fanatic about their language. And I see here, there are so many people from Tamil Nadu. They know they have the Tamil names. They will even tell when we ask them, are you Hindus? They will know we are Tamilians. They think Hindus means something Hindustani who are speaking Hindi. They get mistake, but they will tell we are Tamilians. But they do not know Tamil at all. Even the people from the Hindi belt, that is North India, UP, Bihar, they do not know their mother tongue at all. Everybody have taken to English. They are not bothered about learning their mother tongue too. That is a different thing. So, but everything, the culture, everything is there in that mother tongue. In a foreign tongue, you can't be so proficient. The bhavanas, the sentiments, everything is hidden. The culture is hidden in the language. So mother tongue has to be taught to the children, especially the Indian languages, especially the Sanskrit, other mother tongue, Indian languages have some special culture in them. They have devised the language in such a way, the rishis and munis, that tradition, the culture, everything is inside that. That is the reason Sanskrit is called Deva Bhasha, the language of the gods and goddesses. So many things are devised in such a way naturally in Sanskrit, the Indian language. When you are studying it, so many good things, culture, everything will automatically come. You need not give it specially. So please learn that mother tongue of yours and teach it to the children. All these things, the great things are to be taught. It is all hidden in your mother tongue. Real culture will come. So father and mother, you need not send them to the schools to learn the languages and alphabets. The father and mother and the brother and sister, elder brother and sister, they have to teach the children. They have to give them. So that's very, very important. The language, everything, the culture, it's the parents who have to give them. So now, but finding the boy was becoming more and more restless. That means he's bubbling with energy. You have to channelize it, teach them different languages, not one languages. I'm telling that you should be fanatic and teach your own mother tongue. No. First, let them learn the mother tongue. Then let them learn French, German, or Afrikaan, or any other Zulu, or any languages they can learn. That's not a problem. But first teach the tongue, the mother tongue. So let the child become proficient. So give them like that. The energy is already there, bubbling with energy. Then teach them many other things. So you can teach the child dance, classical music, send it to learn from the childhood. You have to catch them young. So all that energy will be channelized. So then they will become very good personalities. When they grow up, they will have all that in the childhood. It has got everything. Otherwise, so many other things will come and occupy the memory space. And the memory will full, as in the hard disk or in the computer. When the memory becomes full, then the computer will become slow. Then you have to do fragmentation and remove all that bad memories. So instead of that, give the good memories here, then no problem. Then your computer, the child's computer in the brain will be very fast. Give them good things, catch them young. So now when he saw that he was becoming restless, the child was growing in energy. So he's bubbling with energy. Now what did Kshudaram do? He sent him to a school after the usual ceremony. So before learning the Vedas and other mantras, Sanskrit language in olden days, India's to the Gurukula, the ceremony would be done. The thread wearing ceremony, Yagnopavita Dharana. So that they would be introduced to Gayatri Mantra. So that is also one of the samskara. And then they would be sent to school to learn languages or whatever, Vedas, Sanskrit, the other different fields of Vedas, Vedangas, Upanishad. Then we have the Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, so many other things. So finding that boy was becoming more energetic and restless, he sent him to a school after the usual ceremony. Gadadhar was then 5 years old. Gadadhar is now 5 years old. He was very happy to meet boys of his own age. It's but natural. And his loving ways endeared him to them. So now, can you imagine those children who can become the friends of Gadadhar? Because Lord Vishnu himself has come in the form of this child, Lord Shiva there. And to become his friends, can ordinary people become his friends? So now all those friends may be so lucky. Now we are also have come there to Kamarpukur. We have taken a child form, children form and come to play with Gadadhar. Let us go now play with Gadadhar, that small child. So Gadadhar was very happy to meet boys of his own age, to meet all of you in that boys of the old age, not old age, it is own age, 5 years. And his loving ways endeared him to them and to the teacher. So the loving ways of that boy endeared him to all the other students, all the other boys and girls in the school, 5 years old, and to the teacher also. The school was held in the spacious theatre hall in front of the house of the Lahas. So in those days, olden days, 175 years back, you can imagine in the villages, there would be no such school as we see now. So there was one theater hall which was built by the Lahas. They were rich landlords. So that was given for the children of that village to come and study. So the teacher there would come and teach the boys there in that hall. So no special building for the school. So in the open, and there will be just a sheet of a thatched roof which would cover that place. Even if you go to Kamarpukur now, you can find that still there where Gadadhar had education. So that sheet or that thatched roof will be there, open, no windows, no this thing, walls. It's open. There the children used to sit and the teacher used to teach them. So that is called in Bengali, it is called Tol, T-O-L. So a teacher, the school was held in the spacious theater hall in front of the house of the Lahas, the landlords of the village. So they used to give their space because people in India, they used to believe if you help people to get education, that is the highest charity. Education, giving Vidyadana is the highest in charity. Annadana is there at the lowest rung. Then Vastradana, giving cloths and other things, help is next higher. Then Pranadana, giving medicines, diets and other things, helping people to overcome diseases, still higher. And the highest is Vidyadana, giving them education. Because once you get educated, you can stand on your own feet, and you can also look after so many, earn your living and help other people to stand on your own feet. So that's why education is considered to be the highest charity if you help them. So everybody would be helping. So the landlords, they gave their space, that theatrical hall which belonged to them, for all the children of the village to get education there. So it was felt that India, that we should help the people who are getting educated, giving them food, giving them all the other shelter, everything. So you get a lot of merit. That was the way they used to earn merit, righteous act, punya. So that's why the Lahas, the rich landlord of that village, they had given that space for the children. A teacher paid mainly by them. So the landlords, they know that all other people are poor. So they are rich. So it is our bounden duty. We have to help the children to learn. So they used to get the teacher the learned teacher. They used to pay the money for them and bring them and teach not only their children, they would also make arrangement to teach all the children of the village, whoever is interested in getting educated, so they can come and learn. See, that was the way in India. So they would help other children to learn. People who are rich, they would help the people who are in need. So that was their sharing and living. So since they are landlord, only our family, only our people, we have to use the money for our own people. No. They would share it with the whole village, the society, and help other people. You can see that Lahas, the landlords, so they paid, they not only gave the shelter, the place where the school was there for all the children of the village. So a teacher paid mainly by them, taught their own children and those of the neighborhood to all the other children too. Not only education for their children, but with that, they used to give education to other children too. So that was the large-heartedness of the people. All people used to do that. Whatever they had, they used to share amongst all the people and help each other. And that's why the whole village would be so happy. Nowadays, the apartment culture, we do not know who the neighbor is. We are not bothered about what is happening in the next neighborhood, in the other street. We are just bothered about us and the family. So it is a nucleus family now. Not even our relatives, not even our aunts and uncles and nephews, niece. We're just bothered about our children, our family, that's all. Nothing. We become selfish, and we teach our children also to become selfish. So here you can see, it was the Lahas who were chiefly responsible for starting the school. It was not far from Kshudiram's cottage and was held in 2 sessions daily, both morning and evening. The children attended the classes for 2 or 3 hours in the morning and then returned home for bath and food. They came again at 3 or 4 in the afternoon and remained till sunset. Very young boys like Gadadhar, all age group of 5, boys and girls. So very young boys like Gadadhar had not, of course, to study for so long a period, but they too had nevertheless to remain in the school. So they would not be burdened with more teaching. But they had to stay there with other boys. They used to watch other children, elderly children, getting educated. So even by hearing, even by seeing, they will get inspiration to learn. So they have to sit there, watch there with all the age group. So they'll be happy to be with their other chums and children and other friends. So that way, though they were not given much to study because they were so young, but they had to stay there and see and enjoy. So they came again at 3 or 4 in the afternoon and remained still till sunset. Very young boys like Gadadhar had not, of course, to study for so long a period, but they too had nevertheless to remain in the school. After finishing their lessons, the little boys stayed in their places or sometimes went to play. So all that most of the time, like Gadadhar would use, they would not be much of learning for such small children. So they would spend their time in play. So many different games were there. Villages, now we know computer games only. You know only indoor games or computer games, and you give some things and they play indoors. The children there, even now in India, the villages, they have water, they go and swim, they climb the tree, they play on the tree, around the tree. So there'll be so many different games would be there. Hundreds of games they can play outside, outdoors. It need not be only cricket and football and other things. They devise their own new games. So many games are there. They'll be playing and so much of joy to the children. So we are taking away all those things now. You don't have such games at all. You can go and see so many varieties, different types of games are there, outdoor games, jumping, climbing the tree, swimming, so many other things are there. So like that, now Gadadhar with his other children, with small children, now they get lot of time to play. Very young boys like Gadadhar had not, of course, to study for so long a period, but they too had nevertheless to remain in the school. After finishing their lessons, the little boys stayed in their places or sometimes went to play. The older boys helped the newcomers with their lessons and also saw to it that they went through their old lessons every day. So the elder children used to teach the younger ones. So the teacher would not be burdened. So the children who have already learned, they used to teach the younger ones. Thus, although the school had only one teacher, the work went on smoothly. One Jadunath Sarkar was in charge. Jadunath Sarkar was in charge when Gadadhar first entered the school, but he retired shortly afterwards for various reasons. And one Rajendranath Sarkar was appointed in his place. So Sarkar is the surname in Bengal. So that earlier the teacher was Jadunath Sarkar. Due to various reasons, he couldn't come later on. So when Gadadhar was studying there, first it was Jadunath Sarkar. Now after some time, it was Rajendranath Sarkar was appointed in his place. So that teacher retired shortly afterwards for various reasons, and one Rajendranath Sarkar was appointed in his place. So only one teacher, all the whole primary grade, everything just one teacher. He will teach the elderly ones will teach the younger ones. So like that, it was very smooth transition. So by teaching the younger children, they are also getting more educated. That particular thing which they have learned will become more stronger. So the more you give, the more you teach others, whatever you have learned, that goes deeper and it becomes your own. So you can see the children, just one teacher, and the whole children are benefited, everybody. So the wonderful dreams and visions which foretold Gadadhar's great spiritual destiny, even before his birth, had made a lasting impression on Kshidiram's mind. And so, whenever he found the boy doing something naughty, whenever the boy was found doing something naughty, like all lively children, he would never be harsh with him. Because now Kshidiram himself by nature is very sattvic. And another thing, he has seen all the visions and he knows who he is. Sometimes they may forget and become anxious about them. But in reality, that would come back again. So whenever Gadadhar would be naughty, mischievous, and bubbling with energy, do so many things, so Kshudiram would not become harsh on him. So whenever he found the boy doing something naughty, like all lively children, he would never be harsh with him. Instead, he would gently ask the boy not to do it again. Now see this, the way Gadadhar is teaching, now Gadadhar is being taught by the father. The training has to be given to all fathers and mothers, how to treat your children, whatever they may be. See, Gadadhar is also naughty, mischievous, restless, energetic, bubbling. He will be doing a lot of naughty things, but Gadadhar is being so nicely, gently being taken care of by Kshudiram. You never be harsh to the child. No beating, no harsh words, just pouring out love. And what do we see? Especially the father. Most of the time, mother will be very gentle, but father will be very harsh. Beatings, scoldings, even when they grow up. I've seen in so many families, father are so harsh, so angry with the children. Kshudiram is teaching us how gentle, how patient we have to be with the children. That is the way, that is the real way the parents have to take care of. After, when they grow up, whenever there is some necessity, then you can be a little harsh, a little punishment, not too much. So it should be love by which we have to conquer them. Patience, lot of patience is required. If you give them good samskara from the beginning, they will not do any mistakes. See how Gadadhar is being trained. It's not at all harsh. So instead, he would gently ask the boy not to do it again. And he now and then noticed signs of willfulness in Gadadhar. You know what is meant by willfulness. So he would do it again. If you tell, do not do that, he will do it. You have to give him the reason. All the children, they ask for reason. Always it is like that. The children are like that. You should give them proper reason. If you give the proper reason, proper thing, definitely they will not do those things. So he now and then, Kshudiram noticed signs of willfulness in Gadadhar. But he was not sure whether this was due to the excessive attention everybody bestowed on him or to the boy's inherent nature. So instead of going to school, the self-willed boy would go and play with these companions outside the village, or without caring to tell anybody, go to an open-air performance called Yatra, where the dramas are performed. So in those days, the dramas means only about Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, only gods and goddesses. So that drama performance would be in Bengali language, it's called Yatra, Jatra or Yatra. So at some place in the neighborhood, wherever there is, he used to be going there, not even asking permission. That small child used to go, with great care would hear about Ramayana and Mahabharata. So that is the way you can see in India, that was the education. Through the open air performances in villages, especially the women and other uneducated people, they used to be educated. They knew so many things. How did they get it? Through these open air performances, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Yakshagana, in that all these things would be told. In the conversation, they used to give a lot of teachings. That's how all the women and other people used to learn. So after all the hard work, in the evening, there would be these performances in the temple, near the temple or the open theater. Then all the villages used to gather. Sometimes even the whole night, they used to stay there, or many, many hours. They used to hear about gods and goddesses and so many teachings, and all the education they used to give like that. That's why even though they would not go to the school, all the women, children and other people, farmers, they had a lot of education. They knew so many things. So much of knowledge was there. But this was the way our rishis and munis had, our saints had devised plan how to give education. So now Gadadhar, instead of going to school, the self-willed boy would go and play with his companions outside the village, or without caring to tell anybody, go to an open-air performance called Yatra at some place in the neighborhood. Kshudiram did not scold him for this willfulness. Kshudiram would never scold the boy for this willfulness. He is not taking permission. That small boy will go away to far-off places where that yatras or open-air theaters or performances are being taking place there. So he used to, very interestingly, that was the real education he wanted, to know about Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, of gods, different gods and goddesses. He used to rush there. Mathematics, arithmetic, no. Ramayana, Mahabharata, all the scriptures, yes. Anywhere, any this thing, rush there. So that willfulness, even though you would not tell anybody, go there, simply run. So that Gadadhar, when that was noticed in Gadadhar, Shudaram would not be, because of that willfulness, he would not punish him, he would not be harsh. So what will he do? Now, while studying the psychology of the children, so we have to make a study, deep study of the psychology. By it's not just there in the child psychology that the books and other things, there only little of it is given. So our psychology, the modern psychology, is only the training of the diseased mind. But our Indian psychology, it is the how to train the children, healthy children. That is also there. Yeah, the modern day psychology is very, very required. We have to study that too. But we have to observe the child psychology and devise our own plans. So now Swami Vivekananda tells the beautiful thing. So what is that? Now we all teach our children from the childhood. My dear child, you should not tell a lie. You should not steal. You should not hurt others. You should be very polite. You should be truthful. So all the things we teach everybody. Has anybody taught their children to be stealing or lying or anything? So everybody is being taught, all the children. But in spite of all the children being taught, they will start lying. They will start being harsh. Why is it? Swami Vivekananda asked the questions. Why is that? Though all the children are taught, we teach them. So then Swami Vivekananda asking the question, though we are teaching all the children from the childhood not to steal, not to hurt others, not to do the wrong things, only to do the right things, but still you can see the children go every. What is the reason? Swami Vivekananda tells that we teach children what not to do. Do's and don'ts. We tell, don't do this, do this. That's all. We teach them what not to do, but we do not teach them how not to do and why not to do. If you yourself know why you should not tell a lie, now suddenly you tell the child, please do not tell a lie. Then the child will ask you back, why should I not tell a lie? You can't answer. You don't have an answer. Then how not? You don't have answer. You tell them what not. That's all. But Swami Vivekananda is telling we have to teach our children how not to do and why not to do. Reason, you have to give the scientific reason, the proper reason. The child should understand it. Now, Swami Vivekananda will give a beautiful way, beautiful method. He takes the help of the modern day science itself and then teaches us why we should not tell a lie, why we should not hurt others, why we should be good, why we should not be bad. So how to teach that? So that why and how Swami Vivekananda will give us through the scientific example itself. So let us go through that. It's very, very interesting. Whenever I'm asked to go and speak to the children, I tell this story and I tell the method of Swami Vivekananda to train children. What is that? So Swami Vivekananda takes the example of Newton. We all know Newton's law. Most of us know only Newton's third law. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. For every action, there will be equal and opposite reaction. But if you go to the first law, most of us will have forgotten the first law of Newton. So I will just quote that first law, which Swami Vivekananda is now going to use it here. So that is also called law of inertia. So what is that? An object will be in state of rest or an object will be in state of motion until unless it is acted upon by another external force. So suppose something is moving or something is static. So it will be in state of that as it is without moving, static, or it will be moving until unless an external force stops it or that static thing is pushed. So an object will be in state of rest or in state of motion until unless it is acted upon by another external force. That is the law of inertia. So Newton's law. So Swami Vivekananda takes this one law, and another thing, he goes to geometry, mathematics. What is that? We all know straight line. But Swami Vivekananda tells that there is no concept of straight line at all. How? We all know. How can you deny that there is no straight line? Okay, go on stretching the straight line infinitely, what will happen? You go on stretching a straight line infinitely, then it becomes a circle. Okay, now you start from here, start walking. Maybe after 1 year or 2 years, you will come back to the same place. You will go on around the globe. How is that? It's in circle. Everything, every moment in this world is circular. It is not linear. So what is a straight line then? Straight line is the space between the 2 points and a circle, circumference of the circle. So there is no concept of straight line at all, because straight line infinitely stretched becomes a circle. So he takes these two things from science, then now he explains. Now let us stand here, take the help of the first law of motion. You throw a stone, what will happen? It will come down, it may fall on your head. Why? Because there is external force that's called gravity which is pulling it down. So let us imagine there is no gravity from tomorrow. What happens? Then what happens to that stone if you throw it? It goes to infinite space. Then what happens? Then Vivekananda tells, if you leave long enough, then that stone will travel the whole space, external space, all galaxies and other things, and it will come back to you. Because nothing is stopping it, no external force. And also the second thing which he took was, it is circular. It will come back to you. Every moment is cyclic. It will come back to you if you live long enough. So these two things, now he will tell. Suppose you put out, just like the stone from you, you put out anger, you put out hatred, you put out malice, you put out harm to others, the energy, the thought from your mind. Then what happens? It goes, it travels the whole universe. Then what happens? Since it is always cyclic, it will come back to you with redoubled force. Because there may be so many other bad forces which are already there, left by many other people, the bad thoughts and other things. So it will combine together and it will come back to you with redoubled force, multiple, that what you call compound interest, maybe complex interest. Okay, suppose you put out good thoughts, service, help, and other good things. So other good thoughts, good feelings from your heart. Then it goes around, travels the whole universe. It will come back to you, redoubled force, compound interest, and it will come back to you. So whatever you do will come back to you 1,000-fold more. So that is called law of karma. So if you tell law of karma, people will not tell. So you have to tell it scientifically. So Swami Vivekananda has taken the example of the science itself and telling whatever you do, you harm others, it will come back to you 1,000-fold. If you do good to others, it will come back to you 1,000-fold. So I have to tell this to children. Now you steal, then your own people, kith and kin, will steal your things. It will come back to you 1,000-fold. You lie, then your own near and dear ones will start lying to you. It will come back to you 1,000-fold. You do good things, that will come back to you 1,000-fold. Help others, share, it will come back to you. So now, after telling this to the children, I have to tell, now, okay, please tell a lie. All the children will shout, no, Swamiji, we will not tell a lie. Why? Because it will come back to us 1,000-fold. Then what will you do? Good things only. Why? Because it will come back to us. So this way, taking the help of Swami Vivekananda, I have to tell this. Then also to make this point more forceful to them, I have to tell one story, which I had read when I was a 6-year-old, in my 6th grade maybe. In my 6th grade, 6th standard, I had read this story in Chandamama. One magazine used to come called Chandamama. What is that story? Very short story, very fine story. So as usual, a village background, olden days, father, mother, small child of 5 or 6, then grandparents, that is the father and mother of this man, of the family. So they were living. So always the wife used to pester him, chase away your father and mother, they're useless. We have to spend so much of money. So they are just burden on us. So don't keep us, chase it to some other brother's house or something. Why should you keep here? But the husband doesn't want to send them not because he loves them or respects them, but he was afraid of criticism. The society and other family members may scold him. So forcefully he's keeping them, looking after them, giving them some food out of not out of courtesy or not out of love. So this family is growing up. Now when the wife started pestering more and more, then he devised a plan. He thought, if I now send them away, chase them away, send them to other house, society will criticize. I have devised a plan. What is that? The wife asked. I'll tell them, tell a lie. I'm taking you to your native place for some other reason. There is a function. On the way in the forest, I will take them into the deep jungle, the forest, and dig 2 pits and bury them alive. Then tell a lie to the other people that they got lost in the forest. Okay, the wife was very happy. They'll do it very quickly. So that person went to that old father and mother and told them, I will take you to your native house. They were very happy. So get ready on that particular day. So olden days, it was a bullock cart. He made everything ready in the bullock cart. So below that bullock cart, he had a space where he kept all the implements to dig the pits there to bury them alive. So now he was ready to take them. They were very happy. They thought that he will be taking to the native place, but his idea was different. But the small child also wanted to go with the grandparents because it loved the grandparents very much. So it went and told, Father, I am also accompanying you. Okay, what will the child know? It's so small, 5 or 6 years old. So he took in the bullock cart. So went to the forest, deep mid-forest. He put that bullock cart under a tree, shade of the tree. Then he told, I have some work in the forest. He went deep into the jungle, started digging 2 holes, 2 pits. Then while he was half finished or 3/4 finished, then the child came running. It was getting bored there for a long time sitting there. It came to the father and told, Father, what are you doing? Then this man told, why should I tell a lie to this child? He's so small. He will not understand. Let me tell the truth. See, your grandfather and mother, they're useless. They have become old. They are diseased. They take away all the money of ours. We have to give them medicine. Then burden. They are so much of burden. All that food, everything has to be consumed. They don't do any work. They are useless. So I just want to bury them alive so that all that money can be used on you. We can give you a lot of more facility to you. This boy of 5 or 6 couldn't understand. He told, okay, Father, and ran away again to the grandparents whom he loved. They finished that pit. Then he came back. He was to tell a lie to the parents and bring them and push them inside them and bury them. He went there. He saw, instead of now taking the parents there, he saw the child is not there. Where did the child go? Now those old father and mother told, see, he was so naughty and mischievous. It went to the other side of the jungle, ran there. We couldn't catch hold of him. We are old. We couldn't run behind him. I was so afraid. What will happen to my child? I'm doing all these things for him. Now, if any wild animals eat him off, what is going to happen? So he ran towards that side. Then a little away from the jungle, he was doing something with small implements, with small stick and other things. So exacerbated. He was so tired. He went there and told, what are you doing? He was a little angry. What are you doing? Then the small child told, Father, can't you see? Yes. What are you doing? I'm digging 2 pits. What for? Then the small child told, in future, you and mother, mummy will become old, isn't it? Then you will become useless, isn't it? Then you will be a burden to the family. I have to look after my children. So why should I come then and dig 2 holes? So I'm now digging 2 holes now itself, so that in future, when you become old, I will bring you and push you into the pit and bury you alive. The father was taken aback. What is this? Then immediately he took the child in arms and told, you taught me a great lesson today. Whatever I do will come back to me 1,000-fold even now. You need not go to hell. You need not go to some other place. Both good and bad will come to you even now in this world itself. He saw it. So he came back rushing to the father and mother, fell at his feet with tears, and he told them, confessed what the thing he was going to do, all that thing he told that what he was going to do to them. This small child has taught me a lesson. Then he took back the child home, the old father and mother, and told the wife what happened and looked after the father and mother very nicely. So whatever you do, come back to you 1,000-fold. After telling this story to the children, Then I used to ask them, children, will you now ill-treat your parents? No, Swamiji. Why? It will come back to us in thousand folds. Will you disobey your parents? No, Swamiji. We will be very obedient to our children. So that's what Swami Vivekananda is telling. We have to teach our children not only what not to do, we also have to teach our children how not to do and why not to do. First, it is why not to do. Why should not be bad? Why should we not be harsh? All those bad things should be given up. Why? Has to be taught to the children. Why should we be good? Why should we be truthful? If we teach the children like that with patience, then they will not do it. So in future, in the, in the complete works, if you read the complete works, Swami Vivekananda is teaching not only to teach children why not to do, but how not to do. In yoga, everything is there. How not to do, how you can overcome all these things. So through Raj Yoga, it teaches that. So now, because if I go on telling that is a big chapter, you go and read it, and you also have to do some homework, isn't it? Read complete works of Vivekananda, in that it is given how to teach children, how not to do. So now I have told what Swami Vivekananda has told. Why not to do? Now you have to go read that and find out how not to do, to teach the children. So like that, if we teach the children with great patience and other things, they will learn, they will become very good citizens, and they will also look after you very properly. I gave you the example now. So likewise, Gadadhar, when he used to become willful, and sometimes he would not tell the parents and go away here and there. Even then, our Kshudiram, the best father, see now he was the best husband. He was so nice to Chandramani Devi. He was a wonderful person. He was a very good husband, ideal husband. Now he's the ideal father. So we have to learn from Kshudiram how should be an ideal father. He was not harsh. He was not getting angry. He was not, though Gadadhar was willful when he was of the age of 5 and 6. So like other parents would have done, he would never become angry. He would not be harsh. He would not scold for that willfulness. For he now felt convinced that it was this that would ultimately help the boy to become great. So he knew that the boy in future would become great. So I should not be harsh. I should not punish him. So now, Kshudiram, see how the feelings, you have to learn all these things, especially father. Not like other parents, he would not scold that or punish that boy. For he now felt convinced that it was this that would ultimately help the boy to become great. And there was good reason for him to think so, since he invariably found that Gadadhar would not rest. So he was observing the child. So he has time to observe his child, not simply observe the external doings, but internal. What is his mind? What is his thought? So Kshudiram is observing him minutely and studying. And what is he doing? And he had a good reason for him to think so, since he invariably found that Gadadhar would not rest until he accomplished what he had undertaken. The great character he is finding, he has observed Gadadhar and he is telling that wonderful nature he saw in Gadadhar. He was convinced. What was that? Gadadhar would not rest until he accomplished what he had undertaken. Once he took up something, he would not rest until he accomplished whatever might be the reason. So that mind, that willpower, he could see in Gadadhar. And Gadadhar would not rest even that in that small age till he accomplished what he had undertaken. That he would never try to hide. See, another great quality of the child. All the child, it will be there. We go on punishing, we go on harming them, scolding them, then they will learn telling lies to you because you are punishing them, you are harsh to them. If you had shown them love and affection without punishing them, they would not learn telling a lie. We are teaching them to tell a lie because of our harsh nature. By the punishment, they become untruthful. But Gadadhar, whatever might be the case, he is saying that he would never try to hide any act of his by telling a lie. Now, if you teach all these things to children and also parents, now the nature of Gadadhar, he is, whatever might be, Gadadhar would not hide anything and he would not tell a lie for anything. He would never tell a lie. The great quality in Gadadhar. We have to teach our children with this quality. Oh, Gadadhar was like this. Then the children will tell, we should also become truthful like Gadadhar. They will learn. And if the parents study Kshudiram's way of dealing with the child, then you can also learn wonderful things, how to bring up a child. Majority of the reason why the children become like that is our wrong way of bringing them up. So Kshudiram is teaching, please learn from that. And give the children the nature of Gadadhar. What was the first thing which he observed minutely? Whatever that Gadadhar took up, he thought right. And he took up that he would never rest till he accomplished what he had undertaken. That is one of the good nature he found in Gadadhar. And another thing, very important thing, he would never try to hide. No hiding business, no hypocrisy. Open, anything open, clean slate. So Gadadhar would never try to hide any act of his by telling a lie. And that, above all, he would never think of doing harm to anybody. What three wonderful nature you can see in that boy Gadadhar. He would never think of doing harm to anybody. All these things you have to note down. All with the description, give it to the children. It should be with other colorful things too, not just the character. Gadadhar was truthful. Gadadhar would not harm anybody. Gadadhar would not rest until he accomplished. No, with all these things, stories and other things you have to give to the children. You have to dramatize it and give it to the children. And children will be very mesmerized with that. And they will take that beautiful character into them. So one more great thing which Kshudiram saw was, the first thing is, the boy would never rest until he accomplished anything which he had taken up. He would not stop. Second thing is, he would never hide anything, and any act, whatever he does, he would never hide, and he would never tell a lie. What is the other great character which that boy had? Above all, he would never think of doing harm to anybody. He would never hurt anybody. He would not do harm to anybody. But there was one thing that really worried Kshudiram. What was that which we couldn't understand in that boy? That worried Kshudiram. When the boy was asked or forbidden to do anything, he would deliberately go counter to the instruction until it was put to him in a way that appealed to his heart and understanding. That is what I told you just now. We teach the children what not to do. But if we teach them how not to do and why not to do, they will never do it, or they will, whatever you have told, they will obey it. That's what Vivekananda has told, how to teach children. You should give them why not to do and how not to do. We only teach them what not. See here, that is being seen in Gadadhar. What is that? Kshudiram has noticed. When the boy was asked or forbidden to do anything, he would deliberately go counter to the instruction until it was put to him in a way, it was taught to him in a way that appealed to his heart and understanding. That is what Vivekananda told us just now. How not to and why not to. If we teach the children why not to and how not to, they will obey you. They will not do that. Otherwise, they will go counter. You can see that in Gadadhar. So all that Kshudiram is observing, we should also observe in your children and the other children who are growing all these things, nature, and devise plan through the help of this. So Kshudiram, when the boy was asked or forbidden to do anything, he would deliberately go counter to the instruction until it was put to him in a way that appealed to his heart and understanding. Kshudiram understood that this really showed the boy's desire to know the why and wherefore of everything. It's common with all children. So now Kshudiram understood Why did he do that? Why would he deliberately do whatever you forbid him to do? Because Kshidaram understood that this really showed the boy's desire to know the why and wherefore of everything. But he realized also that people would not normally tolerate such behavior. Ordinary people cannot tolerate such behavior. So they will get irritated, they will get angry, ordinary parents. But he realized also that people would not normally tolerate such behavior, nor take the trouble to satisfy the boy's curiosity by telling him the reason for everything. As a result, he thought it was possible that the boy might occasionally be led to ignore the conventional rules of the good conduct. It was the occurrence at that time of a small incident which gave rise to this apprehension of Kshidiram. It also made him understand the working of the boy's mind, and he began carefully to guide him accordingly. So he's observing, studying minutely. Then accordingly he's devising different ways to teach Gadadhar. Why not to do, how not to do, not only what not to do. So we shall also learn from Kshidiram and see what is that incident. A beautiful incident takes place. It's a great lesson for us, how to teach children, how to bring up our children. So we shall see that in the next class, because we have already completed our time. We have also gone over our time now. It has crossed 8 now. So in the next class, that is tomorrow, we will see what that beautiful incident which happened in the life of Gadadhar, and how the mother Chandramani Devi and also Kshidiram taught that boy, because he used to go counter. Sometimes he would, if you tell not to do, he will go and do that, unless you teach him why and correct. It should touch his heart. So how they will teach him? Do we have that patience? You can learn that patience from Chandramani Devi and Kshidiram and learn from them. So until tomorrow, we will take leave. So now, if you have any questions, if you have any doubts connected with this subject, you can ask. We can entertain this question and answer session for about 2-3 minutes, if anybody wants to. So if there is no question, if there is no doubt, then I can conclude today's session with a prayer. And we will meet tomorrow at the same time, Monday. Okay.
We can only thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Mother.
I can only thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful learnings. You're explaining it so beautifully. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you, Mother. May I know who is speaking, Mother?
I'm Bandana Sarkar from Muscat.
Oh, okay.
From Oman.
Okay.
Bandana and...
Yes, Mother. Yes, Mother.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Namaste, Mother. Namaste. Thank you. Om. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Predite Preditam Jagat Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.